I'm ready.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This great Monday, June 29th, for the ACA Small Business Boot Camp and Resource Collective. I'm Robert Theobald. I'm the Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services here at the Arizona Commerce Authority. We want to start by thanking our community partners and for all the support and resources they've given us to help provide these boot camp sessions every day. We couldn't do without them. So the ACA Small Business Boot Camp and Resource Collective is a boot camp, such a series of webinars designed to help small businesses work through and emerge from the COVID crisis stronger than ever. It's a statewide initiative supported by our community partners, and it's a daily boot camp that we're going to continue on through July. And we also, through that partnership with those community partners, create a resource collective of lots of materials and resources to help your businesses. So the Small Business Boot Camp, you can access the information on our website at azcommerce.com/smallbusinessbootcamp. And their webinars are Monday through Friday. This week it's Monday through Thursday because of the holiday that's being recognized on Friday for many businesses. Excuse me. There are various sessions including PPP, guidance on returning stronger, strategies to help boost your business or manage your business. And all the sessions are recorded so you can go back and watch the previous sessions. We're in week 10, so we have 9 completed weeks of content that you can go back and review and watch. And all that information is on the bootcamp website. Also part of the website is our resource collective. And here we have guides and tools that have been provided by our community partners to help small businesses. So this week's topics, we have business mapping tool for entrepreneurs. Tomorrow we have lead resilient teams virtually with the Wednesday is small business success stories. We're really looking forward to that. We've got a few small businesses that are going to share what they did and how they managed the crisis and overcame it to continue emerging stronger. Thursday is a tax relief session with the IRS. And then Friday, there will be no session. It's the observed Independence Day holiday for businesses. 4th of July, of course, is on Saturday, so many businesses will be off on Friday. All sessions start at 9 a.m. So quick update on PPP and EIDL. The big update is the PPP program ends tomorrow, June 30th. All applications have to be in the SBA system by the end of the day on the 30th. In order to participate. So if you are working on a PPP loan, you're still in the process, please follow up with your lender to make sure things are processing properly in order to get that funding. As far as funding, as of last Friday or Saturday, there's still over 110 billion remaining there. Lots of funds. On the average numbers that SBA has been sharing, the average loan number continues to drop, dollar amount loan, which is showing that a lot of small businesses are getting more funding and getting the loans to help those small businesses get through the crisis, which is a good thing. So on this page, there's a PPP lender match that helps SBA set that up to help you find lenders that can provide the loan. And then if you're looking for PPP forgiveness, then this is the link for the application and information for that application. So some other tools that are available for small businesses through the ACA is the Small Business Services, and we can help with navigating through the SBA and working with the Small Business Development Centers, SBDCs. They're a great resource here in the state. Additionally, our Workforce Division can help work with employers as they're looking to hire employees and assist them in navigating the Arizona work programs. And then our Arizona MEP, our Manufacturing Extension Partnership, can help manufacturers address their COVID needs and create plans to emerge stronger as well. So just a reminder of the state's Arizona Together website for additional information on COVID and additional resources as well. This is a quick look at some of the guides and resources that are available on the Resource Collective. And these guides range from retail to salons, to construction, to restaurants, all to help your business work through and get back open through the COVID crisis. Additionally, we have our website, our COVID-19 business resource website. You can access at azcommerce.com/COVID-19, and we update that constantly with the newest information. So today we're excited to have Tom Argero with us. He's the Executive Director of the North Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, and he's got a great presentation today. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and turn the time over to Tom.
Well, thank you so much, Robert. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity here this morning to be able to present this content to the group. Make sure my slides are working. So, yeah, as Robert had said, I've been Executive Director here at the North Phoenix Chamber of Commerce for almost a year now, coming up in August. I served as a volunteer as board chairman for about 4 years prior to that. So I've been in leadership here at this chamber for a few years, and also have a background in software development and computer consulting and software, et cetera. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump right into my presentation today. The business model canvas is a tool that I discovered a few years ago. It's not brand new. It's probably more than 10 years old at this point. It was developed by a company called Strategizer, and they're somewhere in Europe, I believe Denmark, I'm not 100% sure. And Strategizer developed, one gentleman at that organization founded the organization and founded this template as a way, as a tool to be able to dump out of your head in a relatively short period of time, flushing out an idea of maybe a new business you might want to start or a new venture you might want to head in a direction toward. Maybe it's a new product that you want to introduce to an existing business. So a lot of times I'll have somebody walk in the office. People find our chamber because of what we've done with our SEO and with our just visibility in the community. And I get cold calls. You know, somebody will just drop in and say, hey, I've got this great idea. I think I want to start a business. I need the chamber to help me. What can you do? And I typically try to schedule as quick as I can some time to ask some questions and figure out, what are they really thinking? Do they have something that's viable? Can I help them before wasting too much time, you know, chasing down a business idea? Is the business even valid? So I've used this for those conversations. I've used it for some one-to-ones with some of my chamber members. It's just a really powerful tool. This business model canvas, first couple times I was introduced to it and tried to use it, it seemed backwards to me. You start on the right side. You start on the customer segment side of this, and it will make sense in a moment. It'll make more sense in 20 or 30 minutes when we've gone through all the boxes, and you'll understand the sequence and why it's set up the way it is. But here in America, English speaking, we expect the upper left corner to be where we start. And why they didn't stick customer segment over where it says key partners is beyond me. But when we get done with this, it'll actually make some sense. And we're going to go through, you don't have to memorize this slide, but we're going to go through this presentation through these boxes in a particular sequence. And like I said a minute ago, the first time you see this, it'll make perfect sense and you won't forget the sequence after you see it. The first half, the orange lines in the first 5 boxes, you can almost think of that value proposition in the center as a theater stage. And the curtain opens up onto the right side. Over on the right-hand side is all of your customer-facing, customer experience content is over here. You're interacting with your customer through channels, you're building a relationship with them. They have to come through a ticket booth in your theater, and that's your revenue streams at the bottom of that page. Behind the stage, there's this whole production that's required in order to put on the show of the value proposition that you're delivering to your customers. So if you think of this that way, it'll start to make some more sense. So I'm going to dive right into the use of each of these boxes and how you fill out a business model canvas and how you start to flesh out your thoughts and your ideas. The Strategizer organization that came up with the business model canvas has a couple prompts, a few questions that they try to ask to help you understand who your customer is, who your ideal customer is. I have found more recently an even more powerful way to dive into that content. There's a whole other methodology out there for business analysis and business growth. It's called the growth wheel. And the growth wheel is made up of 20 spokes, basically, to this wheel. And the growth wheel system has about 100 templates of these, what they call decision sheets, behind that analysis. So once you do an assessment within the growth wheel, completely unrelated to the business model canvas, by the way, a coach or a consultant who's working with you would introduce a few of these decision sheets to you to help you flush out some ideas. When I stumbled into the one decision sheet about customer persona, your client's persona, this made more sense to me than anything I've seen in a long time around identifying the first box in your business model canvas and understanding who your ideal client is. This decision sheet has, I think you can see my mouse tracking here on the share screen. This section here to the left of the person are some demographics about their age and their gender and the type of position they hold, and some geographic information about their location. So from the North Phoenix Chamber of Commerce perspective, if I'm thinking about my ideal client, my ideal customer as a chamber, it's business professionals in North Phoenix. So I know what kind of a position they hold. They're probably solopreneurs in many cases, or some kind of a business professional, and location is North Phoenix. Industries are kind of all over the map. Age and gender is all over the map. Same with education. So it's a little hard to nail down some of the demographics about an ideal client for my Chamber of Commerce, for instance. But they have some psychographics in common. And that's why I like this sheet so well. This set of boxes on the right side of the person points to what's going on in their head. What are they assuming? What are their opinions about things? What are their ideas? What are they thinking? What is my ideal client thinking? How are they feeling with their heart? You know, what are their concerns and their interests and their preferences? What are they doing with their hands? What is the job that they're trying to accomplish and the activities that are in their role and their responsibilities? What projects are they working on? And then their feet are going to take them somewhere. What direction are they heading? What changes are they seeing right now through COVID? Good Lord, I mean, we're seeing some amazing change and a lot of opportunities. So where is my ideal client going? And then also throughout all of those psychographic, kind of what's going on in their head, they're faced with challenges, they have needs, they have some resources available to them, etc. So as best as I can nail down this information about my ideal client, the better off I'm going to be as I start to think about the solutions I'm providing, or the business I'm trying to start, or a marketing campaign that I need to go launch to address the needs and concerns and hopes and fears of my ideal client. The second box in the business model canvas, we jump to the middle and we jump to the value proposition next. And the value proposition is, it frustrates me when I hear somebody say they compete on value, on price, and that's their value prop. You completely missed the boat if you think your ideal client is somebody with a spine because you're a chiropractor. I hear that occasionally, or somebody with skin because you're an esthetician, or somebody with fingernails because you're a nail tech. Your ideal client has so much more going on, and you can fine tune that so much tighter. But the real question about your value proposition, that second box in the middle, is how well are you addressing with your solution what your client is thinking and feeling and doing, and where they think they're heading, and what are the challenges that they're facing and the needs that they have. And the better fit you can have in your bright idea of the business you want to go launch, the better fit you have to the customer you're trying to attract, the more solid of a business plan you're gonna start to put together. The third box is this bridge between how you deliver your value prop to your clients. So this becomes this link. The channels are the ways that you communicate with your potential clients. How do you educate them? Where do you educate them about what you're providing? How do you where do they want to be reached? And that's important too, because now you might think it's awesome to be doing some influencer marketing on Instagram because somebody told you needed to go do that. But if you're doing B2B and all your clients are over on LinkedIn as a social platform, for instance, then they want to be reached on LinkedIn probably, and maybe not on Instagram or some other platform. So you need to think from your client's perspective, potential client, where do they want to be reached? And that's what these channels help you identify. Where do your clients hang out? You know, where are they when it comes to face-to-face and phone and email? How do they want to be interacted with, right? And then each of those channels could contribute various parts to the sales funnel stages. So as your client's becoming aware of you, they might be on one channel, but they might be evaluating or purchasing through a different channel. So you need to think through that as well as you identify the channels that you're going to use to communicate with your ideal clients. The fourth box, once they become a client and now they're jumping back and forth between not just being a target market, but now being a receiver of your services, they've paid for it. How do they expect the relationship between the two of you to go? Do they expect to not be bothered and be self-served and everything to be automated? They never want to talk to a human? Or do they expect to pick up a phone and call an 800 number and get at least a personal assistant? Or do they expect a dedicated support person like an insurance agent, you know, that whole model for many years, or financial advice, where you've got a friend, almost a partner, a collaborative partnership with somebody who understands you and your finances and your situation. So the relationships are the ways that your clients would want to interact with you. The fifth box down at the bottom is the revenue streams. And this kind of wraps up the whole front half of the theater, right? It's everything on the right side, it's everything that's customer facing. But one of the questions becomes, what value are your clients, your potential customers, willing to pay for? Another thing you need to be able to answer in this revenue stream box is, what are they currently paying for? You know, if they're paying nothing because they've been involved in a barter situation for a solution that works, and you think you're coming up with an idea that's a $100 a month subscription, and you're going to try to compete with the perception that they're getting something for free. You know, what are they already currently paying for? How are they already paying for it? You know, maybe it's all the service providers in your space are accepting credit cards, and your bright idea is that you're going to be a cash business. Well, people may not carry cash and may not be able to pay for your service because of, you know, how they currently pay and how their mindset is around a payment structure. And think too about your revenue streams in terms of percentages broken into these buckets of, you know, your 20% one-time payments. Are you 80% one-time payments? Do you set up a business model where you've got some subscription model? Do you start to reduce the price if you have increased volume? You know, can you bundle and save, or can your clients bundle and save? And maybe a pricing model around that might make sense. That in a nutshell is the front half, all the customer facing stuff. I don't know if this is a good time to pause and ask for questions. You want me to keep rocking? Robert, I'm not familiar with the format of these meetings, so I don't know how these typically run. I'm not watching a chat box.
Do we have any? I do not have any questions at this time, but we'll open it up for a second. Are there any questions to this point of the presentation? If you do, post them in the Q&A box. Perfect.
That'll work. Thank you. I'll just keep rocking then.
Okay.
I'll shut up and act like everyone knows what is following me along real well. So the next box, now we're going to start working on the backstage and all the things that we need to know about our our business in order to deliver the value to our potential customers. The key resources is the next box that we go to. Those resources are things that we need to deliver our value proposition, to communicate through the channels, to build the relationships, to manage the revenue streams. Things like our credit card processing systems, et cetera, are all resources. Also think about the resources in terms of whether they're physical, intellectual property, human resources, et cetera, financial needs. So very similar then to the resources are the activities that you're performing with those resources. You know, what does your day look like as you are interacting with your potential client or with your new client? What kind of production activity do you have? How are you delivering your new service? How are you solving problems along the way? Are there things that need maintained system-wide on a regular basis? You've got housekeeping for your building, et cetera. So you have a handful of resources and you have a handful of activities. Both of those items contribute to a cost. So there are some core costs that you're going to have for just about any business, including your own ability to hopefully pull some income out of what you're doing for yourself. But there has to be more than that. And your costs will include the cost of all the resources and all the activities that you're performing. Grab a bookkeeper or a CPA, set up a chart of accounts if you're getting close to that stage in your business startup, and understand your fixed and variable costs and all that. And one really important question to test here is whether or not you think you're going to generate enough revenue to more than cover your expenses. And again, based on that, the questions you asked yourself on the revenue side. The last box is all about partnerships and collaborations with other organizations and other entities. You can't do what you're doing in a vacuum in today's market, probably. You're going to have suppliers that are providing you with content, with pieces of the equation that you're delivering as a service. You know, part of your value prop might come from an outside provider. There might be some risk involved in that, by the way. So think about the risk management piece of that. I've got that bullet down on the second half of the screen. Think about which activities you're performing and which ones you're outsourcing to your key partners. Think about power partners. Power partners are easy to understand if you haven't heard that term before. For every real estate transaction, the realtor has a handful of power partners. There's a title agency, there's the lender, there's the inspection, there's insurance. Lots of things have to happen for a real estate transaction to happen. So the power partners are all the related businesses that are touching that client for different parts of that experience. So you may have some power partners involved in your project as well. So there's a very important next step that I have often skipped myself. And I think this cartoon pretty much nails down the feeling of what happens when you don't test assumptions and the reason for testing them. You know, you might have the coolest thing since melted cheese, you think, and you've developed this whole business model and you've laid it all out on this canvas and you're ready to run. And I love this question. I love the statement. If we were the teenage girl target that we were building this application for, I think I would totally love this and I would buy it, you know? And someone else has the nerve to finally ask, have you actually talked to another individual that might use this to make sure? And the other guy says, what, leave the building? Are you kidding me? Why would we leave the room? So this critical next step is to test your assumptions. And as soon as you get your business model canvas and laid out and you get some content on it, you stop. You push your desk, push your chair away from your desk, go outside and you talk to humans. I stumbled into this book about a year ago. I've got this as a PDF and I've shared the link. I don't know if everybody gets copies of these slides or not. I can share this out if you have any interest in it. In fact, I can pop this into the chat window. It's probably just the safest thing to do. Make sure everybody's got access to this. Talking to Humans is an amazing 86-page book that PDF that is now in your chat window. It takes you through the whole process of diving into understanding whether or not you've got some assumptions that clearly need to be tested. There are a few critical assumptions that will absolutely make or break your project. You've assumed, probably, like many of us have, and I know I have over the years with various things, that I've come up with an idea, my coolest thing since melted cheese, actually addresses my potential customer's problem and their needs. And I've made a huge assumption that they will pay for it. And I've made a huge assumption that I can build it and deliver it. So if you don't stop and ask yourself some of those key critical tests, right, to determine if your business really is viable or not, or your new idea is viable, you have to get out of the room. You got to go talk to humans. There are lots of ways to use the business model canvas. I've continued to talk about exploring a new venture. You can use it to fine-tune an existing process. You can use it to get an entire team on the same page. You know, we've got a new set of board of directors coming on board here at the Chamber July 1st. I'm going to run them through a business model canvas at our first board meeting in July to show them in a 30,000 foot level, here's what we do, all right? It's an easy way to communicate with others. I've started to experiment, me as an old programmer, using the business model canvas as a layout for a scorecard, for a dashboard. So that customer segment box can have metrics like how many new customers have I picked up this month? What's my attrition rate? How many customers am I losing? Or how well am I retaining, right? The revenue streams and all the metrics around that can be tucked into a dashboard. I mean, there's so many ways to use this canvas that I don't think Strategizer initially intended 10, 11 years ago when I developed it. Last slide, there's my contact information. We've got 30 minutes, it looks like, for Q&A. We're good till the top of the hour, I believe. Is that correct, Robert?
Yeah, we have until the top of the hour if we need it. So I would encourage anyone that has questions from this, please ask them. Please share them. Your questions may benefit others on the call as well, so please don't be afraid. But Tom, how could you use this business model canvas? You're an existing business, you're coming out of COVID. What would be some tips or tricks to use this to help grow my business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. The first thing I would suggest is to go back in and just make sure you really understand who your ideal client is. That may have shifted, or you may not have had a good handle on that. So I would actually just document your existing business as you think you're running it on the canvas. And it will help you really fine tune and flush out how you're delivering content to them. Maybe your channel has changed. For many of us, our channels have changed. As a chamber, my gosh, we can't do live events. How frustrating has this been for business owners that are accustomed to interacting with us through that channel? We've all pivoted and we're using Zoom until Zoom's coming out of our eyes. But so there's I mean, you name it, there's a million ways to use this. But getting a good handle on who your ideal client really is, I think, is critical. Understanding the value that you're delivering to them is more critical than ever, because the space is going to start getting so much more competitive for just about every business out there. That would be my 2 cents right there. Start there.
So Tom, one of the slides I'm thinking of is the point number 2. It's the middle one, the value proposition.
Yes, sir.
And with your question is how do you solve the challenges and needs that your target audience is thinking, feeling, doing, where they're going right now? That's changed a lot. Customers are thinking, feeling, and doing things very differently, and they're even going to different places. Could you just kind of recap your thoughts on that slide again, and how they can, when people are going through this for their business, again, what they should be thinking of, and really challenge themselves to think of when they fill out the portion of this portion of the business model.
Portion, yes, this is really critical, and that's a great question. So this really has to start with understanding what your ideal client is thinking, feeling, and doing, and where they're heading. And then the question becomes, is your business and is your solution, if you can frame it in a way, and you know that you're building widgets, for instance. The question is, why are you building widgets? Well, you're building them for a client, right, that a client can use. Well, why would the client use? You just keep asking why. Why would your client use your widget? Well, because they're trying to solve a certain problem, okay? What is the problem they're trying to solve, and why can't they solve it on their own with an existing product or service, right? Just keep asking why. From the customer's perspective, why are they thinking the way they are? Why are they feeling the way they are? You know, why are they doing what they're doing now? Because it's the way they've always done it? Do you have something that might work better? If you do, through the channels, you're going to have some education about, you know, how to fix a process or how to shift toward whatever the service or product is that you're delivering. But so the value prop, yeah, that's just this is making sure that you're looking at the world from your customer's perspective and making sure that what you're delivering addresses their pain points. That's really the critical step. If you're not helping them address a pain point or solve a gain point, you know, somewhere an aspiration of theirs, and you're not there to provide that solution, in this market, more than ever, it's critical that your solution really solves the problem or helps them elevate to a new level. And that's what your value proposition really needs to be. It's not, you know, well, we compete on price, right? And we're going to have 1 million customers and we're just going to compete on price and volume. That's not a value proposition. The value proposition is, you know, my customers are suffering through not being able to find more clients. I'm going to take the chamber's perspective for a second. Somebody comes to me and they're looking to join the chamber. My first question to them is, obviously, you know, who do you sell to? And next question that I'm asking myself is, how can the chamber connect that business with a potential client, right? So what task is it that that individual is trying to solve? What is their business trying to do? And how can I be a part of helping them do that? That's part of the value proposition for the Chamber of Commerce. We empower networking opportunities and reach in the community and help you, you know, reach the community further through more marketing effort than you can on your own. We're a marketing engine. That's what the Chamber is. We're almost a PR firm for our clients. And that's what our value proposition looks like. So I don't know if I'm answering your question. I feel like
I'm glad you used the chamber as an example so you could share that example. So we had a follow-up question. Another question says, as a follow-up to the host question, for existing small businesses, how often should we review the Canvas board to make adjustments?
How often is your business changing? Or how often is your market environment changing? Would be my question, first of all. And right now it's pretty frequent. So I would say the sooner that you can, as frequently as makes sense. You know, if you're using this almost as a dashboard, I review, for my own personal business, I review this on maybe a monthly basis. I used to own a photography studio. I haven't promoted that much over the past couple years, but I built a canvas for every single marketing campaign. There's a good point. Okay, so let me address the reason why you would want to, or how frequently you want to visit this. Kind of depends on how frequently market conditions are changing. So a combination of this with a SWOT analysis can give you some real detail and give you some focus. So if you do a SWOT analysis occasionally, and you think about your strengths and your weaknesses and opportunities and threats, we just had in March a huge threat. There's an external business climate change that occurred for every one of us, and we've been calling it COVID. But if you were thinking about a SWOT analysis, there's a huge threat that just hit us. The business climate changed. There's opportunities in that, right? So if you start thinking about your strengths and the holes that other businesses are leaving because they're not pivoting fast enough, you might see some opportunities. And as soon as you start to think about that, jumping back into a business model canvas and reviewing your existing canvas, probably a really good idea. Whether it's monthly, whether it's quarterly, whether it's twice a year, I don't know. It depends on your business. It depends on the rate of change around you. There are business coaches that attach basically the SWOT analysis around the perimeters of the business model canvas. Think of your opportunities over on the far right outside of the customer, all right? And think about threats on the bottom of this that can affect your finances. And your strengths are up above and your weaknesses are off on the left. So if you were to stick this in the middle of a SWOT analysis, there's ways to almost finagle that. You can almost envision that. Somebody had asked in the Q&A, what's the cost of Strategizer? I don't know. They offer this for free, this free template. There is some cost for some coaching and consulting. You would have to go to strategizer.com. I think there's a Y in their name as well. We can go search for that really quick and find it. I'm not affiliated in any way with Strategizer. I haven't gone through certification to become a coach or anything like that. So you're hearing this from an experienced user, not from a certified coach from Strategizer.
So Tom, with that, if you're interested in using this model and need some help coaching through that, I know a lot of the small business development centers and the SCORE mentors are familiar with this model and familiar with coaching people through it.
Yes.
And then there's also a lot of paid consultants out there that are also familiar with it. So,
yes.
But if you're just at the very entry level and you're looking for some no-cost help, you can go to azspdc.net or score.org, and both those organizations are no-cost business mentors and counselors that can help with you and located throughout Arizona.
That's a great point, Robert. And we have a couple of SCORE mentors within our chamber, and they use our office space here to meet with clients under normal conditions. They've been using Zoom for the past few months, but yes, they are well-versed in this business model canvas. And whenever I have an opportunity to point somebody to the SCORE mentors within our office, and I know SBDC and other organizations are using this as well. So, and they are well-versed in it. And you're right, it's absolutely free for their coaching and consulting.
All right, Tommy, we have another question. I may have missed it at the beginning. Is there a particular Canvas board recommended? I was looking and found several free versions online.
Yeah, if you go Googling for business canvases, you're going to find about 1 million all of a sudden. I discovered that this weekend as I was preparing for this presentation. There's a Lien Canvas that's slightly different. The 3 boxes over on the left, I think they tweak those a little bit. It's more about identifying a problem, and I don't know, they've renamed a couple of those. And then the value prop, they split that in half as well on a Lien Canvas. And they kind of have like, here's your main value prop, here's your value proposition, but then is there like one thing in particular that you really nailed down well, and they make that kind of a separate box. There's lots of versions, lots of flavors, lots of reasons to use different canvases. I've been using this particular one out of habit. I can't say it's better or worse than any other. Strictly out of habit.
All right, Ray mentioned in here that there's a free course online that you can do regarding the business model canvas at Udacity. Ray, if you could post that in the chat for everyone, that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Strategizer also has a YouTube channel, and there's tons of content over there. One of their videos in particular is how to use the business model canvas for a presentation. So if you were sitting down with a group of, they say, investors, I think you need a more solid business plan before you go to investors. But they basically have a blank canvas, and they use Post-it notes and a couple bullet points on each Post-it note. And as they walk through their presentation, they're literally just sticking Post-it notes on the boxes and talking about their business model. I've done that over the years, and it works really well. I took a giant poster board and drew out the boxes, drew out the frame, and we always keep a stack of Post-it notes in the office for exactly that reason, because I use this to communicate. But just out of habit, I use this particular layout. But Strategizer has a YouTube channel. Go check that out.
All right. Any other questions from the group on the business model canvas? We have a couple other questions that I'll get to, but I first want to focus on the business model canvas. So if you have any other questions on that, please post them up here. We've got one just popped in. Are you suggesting this BMC business model canvas approach in place of a traditional business plan, or to create and use along with a traditional business plan?
Great question. And there's a lot of conversation around that online as well. And you'll find a lot of coaches will ask a very similar question. I think in tandem is probably the best route. And I think the business model canvas is not a waste of time if you can get through one in a matter of 30 minutes. You haven't written a 60-page business plan. If you can flush out something in 30 minutes and get a very high level 30,000-foot view of the world, and you have some assumptions to go test, you've saved an awful lot of time and energy and money before investing into a traditional business plan. However, as soon as you need to go get some venture capital, you're going to have an awful lot of trouble doing it with one piece of paper. So a traditional business plan is much more necessary to really do due diligence when you have to prove more research and other stuff when you're reaching out to others and asking for some cash. You're going to need a business plan. But this will save you some upfront effort of and test a theory rather quickly and test your assumptions. So definitely in tandem. Depending on what your needs are, I always start with this. And if you need a business plan, go from there, a traditional business plan.
Thank you, Tom, on that. That was a good response. What other questions are out there about the business canvas model? Going back to the previous question, Tom, I've heard that same thing from a number of different people, that small business owners don't have time, or they're just not good at sitting down for a big drawn out business plan, but the one-page business canvas model can be a tool to get you started. But I do know from experience that business plan is necessary when you go looking for money just to a bank, small business loan. It might be a micro loan, but they're going to want that business plan to help see how you're going to pay for that loan.
And you haven't wasted your time by putting it into the business into this canvas, because this canvas basically becomes the table of contents, becomes your kind of high-level summary that just needs a lot of detail filled in behind it. So you're off to a good start with a traditional business plan if you start with this. You haven't wasted any effort, I don't think.
All right, Tom, we're going to jump into this other question we have on here. It says, how does the North Phoenix Chamber of Commerce office work within the state headquarters office? Do the offices work in tandem by using a hub and spoke model? Or is there a focus more on the more diverse business industries based in conjunction to the North Phoenix geographical area? I think the simple question on that may help also is, can you explain how the chambers of commerce work? Because they're not directly related to the Arizona Commerce Authority.
That's correct. We're not part of the Arizona Commerce Authority. I think of us as a collaborative partner. We got engaged early on during this 10 weeks ago, during this process where you guys were starting to flesh out how to help small businesses. And I met Andrew at Meeting of the Minds back in January downtown, is how I got plugged into this group. Chambers of Commerce are standalone businesses. There is no big collective chamber. Actually, there's a U.S. Chamber of Commerce. But within our communities, we're all standalone business entities in and of ourselves. We're 501c6 typically, including my chamber. So we're not a C3, we're not a nonprofit for charity, but we are a nonprofit. We're tax exempt as a 501c6. Think of a chamber of commerce. I get this question all the time. People aren't aware of this because you're not involved in the business of running a chamber. So it took me a while to figure this out too. Think of a chamber of commerce as a trade association, right? We look just like the Arizona Board of Roofers or a real estate board or something at a state level probably. However, we're not trade specific. So we're just like a trade organization. We're here with our members join us because they want the benefits of being associated with an organization like the trade associations that they belong to. But we're not trade specific and we're not industry exclusive. So we're a little different than some of the networking groups like BNI, where you have a protected seat and you're going to be the only commercial realtor in the room, all right? Chamber of Commerce, there's no restrictions on seats. We can have 5 commercial realtors or 100 realtors, I don't care. So we're not trade specific, but we are a trade association. And chambers that are becoming relevant, staying relevant in the community, are basically becoming public relation firms for their clients. So when you join a chamber, and the basic run rate here in Phoenix across the board is about $400 a year. I think we're sitting right in an average sweet spot at $400 for a solopreneur to join the chamber. At $33 a month is what that would break down to if you paid that monthly. For $33 a month, we're doing everything we can. We take that money and we pull it together, and we've got some shared resources now, and we do everything we can to help elevate all of our members in the community. So we buy some shared tools for things like press releases, and our database and our website has strong SEO, et cetera. And when a member joins our chamber, they're basically getting plugged into a marketing engine that's already just running and cooking on its own. And you become a part of that marketing momentum, and then your business benefits from it because we give you backlinks back to your business. You get visibility in your marketing and in the community that you couldn't reach on your own because your database isn't that big yet as a small business. There's also some credibility that comes with being a chamber member. That the statistic I've heard for a few years now is if you were to visit a restaurant and you walk in and out of the restaurant and you happen to notice a little proud member badge decal in the window at the restaurant, there's a 69% chance, I'm sorry, 59%, about 60%, 59% chance that you as a patron will come back to that restaurant 3 times in the next 30 days because you've made some assumption that business is doing business differently than others in the area. Because they took the time to join the Chamber of Commerce, they must somehow be vetted, right? They must somehow add to the street cred of that business. And we don't vet. We probably in the 1950s did what the Better Business Bureau does. We probably did somehow vet, or at least pay to be vetted chamber members. But that's no longer the case. And yet the general public assumes that when they see a proud member badge, that there's some credibility behind that business. They've got a reputation to uphold. They're doing business better and differently than everybody else. So we are not affiliated with anything else statewide, I think was the question. But we work very closely with. So during this whole COVID thing, for instance, I was on a conference call every day for about a week with Ducey's office, with the governor's office. They tapered down after a couple of weeks to about 3 or 4 days a week. Then they dropped down to about 2 days a week. And we were basically getting a behind the scenes conversation about the press conference that was either happening live or about to happen. We were being briefed on and helping position us. And it's all because I happen to have joined, my board joined for me at the beginning of this year, the Arizona Chamber Executives, ACE, Arizona Chamber Execs, is a very simple membership for me to have joined. And now that gives me connection to other chamber leaders in the Valley and in the state. But it's more peer-to-peer exchange and review and mentorship and all that sort of stuff happens. But that's really what the Arizona Chamber Executives is. But as a business entity, no, we're completely separate. And there's 30 chambers in the Valley, and they all do things differently. So, and there's nothing that says you can't join more than one chamber. So I've got one member who's joined, I think, 10 chambers and 4 BNI chapters. So it happens.
So Tom, just a quick question on about how large your chamber is and what areas you serve.
We are relatively small in terms of headcount. We call ourselves a boutique chamber. I still think we're the best kept secret in the Valley. We have about 19,000 businesses in our physical space, and we only have about 160 members. This chamber has had an ebb and flow over the years. We've been up as high as 300. We've been down to almost nothing multiple times over a history of 60 years. Part of the reason for that is I think we're not connected with city government. We're not getting some grant money to help like other cities, the city of Glendale, city of Tempe, Mesa. Their chambers are all very well embedded and connected to their city governments. And we're not as entrenched with the city of Phoenix as other entities. And there's certainly the Greater Phoenix Chamber downtown, 2,400 members. Geographically, we go as far south as about Camelback Road. And all that is really is a gentleman's agreement with the Greater Phoenix Chamber that we're not going to go poach their members, all right? It's, we're going to play nice and just not go south of Camelback in terms of our marketing reach. If somebody works south of Camelback Mountain, they can certainly, or Camelback Road, they can certainly join our chamber. We give you, a different angle on your SEO and some other stuff that's worth doing. To the north, there's a couple of chambers north of me, so I need to not go past the Carefree Highway. The Carefree Cave Creek Chamber, Patty's the president and CEO up there, and she's doing a great job. And her and I have a gentleman's agreement not to step on each other's space. So I don't go north of Carefree Highway. There's also an Anthem area chamber, and Heather Maxwell is the executive director up there. Again, that's Carefree Highway over a little bit further west. To the east, I go as far over as the edge of Scottsdale. And to the west, I go as far over as the edge of Glendale. So there's this huge footprint, 19 to 26,000 businesses in this space, I've been told. How we let the world know we're here is still a work in progress. The marketing momentum and getting businesses involved and letting them know that we're here and what we do, it takes an army. It takes an army. And I'm an office of one. I've got a board of directors. We've got a few ambassadors. So we're still growing, and we're still trying to get the word out of what we're doing. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it does. So we've got one last question I want to touch on with the business canvas model, and then we'll give you some time to wrap up after you answer that. And it says, if an entrepreneur does not have time to put work into a business plan, how will they have time to create, manage, run, and succeed with the business?
That's a good question. A business plan can be rather extensive, but that's a really good question. And that's why the business model canvas is kind of a short circuit way to work on your business and not just in it. You do have to take the time to work on your business and think higher level. But that's a great question. I don't know how to answer that. It's all about time management.
Yeah, so I've seen that. I've talked to a lot of business owners, especially during COVID, that haven't had a plan. They started their business, they had their product, they started selling it, it was working, it's been working for them. And now that things have changed, things aren't working quite as well as before. And that is one reason why I wanted Tom to come on and share the business model canvas, because I knew it was an easy tool that businesses could use if they don't have a plan or need to revise their game plan, to do that on one sheet of paper and help create some more additional direction for their business during this crisis and how to plan coming out of it. So Tom, with that in mind, and just to wrap up, I want to give the last few minutes to you for any closing comments you want to share.
Awesome, thank you much. And also within the past couple of weeks, I've stumbled into yet another tool, because there's probably a million of them out there. The Entrepreneurial operating system is another tool that I've been diving heavily into for about 7 days now. I'm new to it, but again, it's basically two pages. One page is your vision, and the second page is your traction. So the vision is everything from, your mission, vision, key values, core values for your business, a 10-year plan, and a 3-year vision of where you want to go. And that's one page. And then the other page is 1 year and less, short-term goals and actions that you're taking and issues that you're trying to solve and all of that. So the combination of the two almost feel really powerful to me, but I'm so new to the Entrepreneurial operating system that I can't speak a whole lot to it yet, except it's yet another thing to go look at. It's been around for about 10 years. And it seems to work, I think, in conjunction with this fairly well if you have both in your toolkit. And there's lots of others out there. Growth Wheel is something else I stumbled into about 2 weeks ago. Somebody told me about. You can spend 1,000,000 years chasing tools, I guess, and not get your business done either. So, but yeah, the business model canvas, somebody had asked earlier, how often do you look at it? And I don't know if I said one thing very clearly. When I was running my photography studio, I had a different business model canvas for each campaign, each seasonal campaign. So, holiday pictures, Christmas pictures, I started promoting in October, meant that I had to review my business model canvas in July and start getting some marketing material ready in August and start thinking about changes to the website in September. And then October 1, I'm ready to go live with, the whole campaign for Christmas pictures. And I had a business model canvas specifically for holiday portraits. Entirely different audience for corporate headshots, right? Different channel to reach them, different pain points that individual's trying to reach. So I had a different business model canvas for a different audience. Please do that as well. And I don't think I've said that clearly throughout today. If you have 2 target audiences, or 3 or 4, then you need 2 or 3 or 4 business model canvases. Do one for each ideal client. Don't try to smush 3 or 4 ideal clients onto one page, because their pain points are different. The value you deliver to them is different. The channels you reach them through are different. Your revenue streams will be different. Your key activities will be different. Make it a different business model canvas for different clients, different types of clients. I'm going to wrap up with that thought, because I don't think I said that clearly, and that's a critical step here too.
All right, Tom, thank you very much for being with us today. We appreciate you sharing the business model canvas and your thoughts on that, and sharing a little bit about chambers and how they work. Just so a note, the Entrepreneurial operating system, the EO system, we are going to actually have a presentation on that in a future session. So we don't have the date nailed down yet, but we do have the person that specializes in that is committed to do some work with us, so we're excited there. And you mentioned Growth Wheel, and that is a tool that all of the small business development centers use. And again, they're a no-cost resource for everybody, so if you're interested in using the Growth Wheel, you can reach out to them and schedule an appointment to work with them on your business.
Awesome.
But again, we appreciate your time, Tom, and thank you all for joining. Please join us tomorrow. You can go to the boot camp website. I posted in the chat to register for tomorrow's session. 9 a.m. and we'll be back. But we appreciate everybody joining us today, and we wish everybody a great Monday.
And
Thanks.
Robert and Lisa, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you guys today.
Thank you,
Thank you, Tom.
Have an amazing week.
You too.